people being appreciated because they are giving money, that thing will end. People will be appreciated for who they are. The church of God is coming. The church of God is rolling out. And the church of God will come and separate itself from the church of this end, from the church of the kingdom of darkness, and it will demonstrate the righteousness of God. The church of God is coming. The church of God is here. The church of God will remain standing, and all these churches will collapse, and these churches will finish. Now, when these thieves realizes that the church of God has now come, they will go and look for other victims. Now, where do we see this? Now, because this church that was a victim for a very long time has now withdrawn, there are others who have not ascended to the level where most people in charismatic move and Pentecostal move are. Those who are below the likes of Zion Church. Your Zion Church will then ascend to the level where Pentecostal churches are, and the charismatic where they will fit in those shoes, and they will now start also implementing the tithing system and etc. That would have been abolished by the move of God from the current charisma. Then they will also carry on, and eventually they will phase out. Now, the churches of God, all of them that which are led by the chosen, are going to shut down tithes and offerings. All the churches across, and this is a message that God has communicated unto all his sons, that his sons may be distinguished from the sons of the devil, the money-making scheme. Now, people of God whom are discouraged, people of God whom are wondering where is the way out in this system, the tithes and the offerings will come to an absolute end. Now, I must say this, which I always tell people. I say, God will never release a child without a budget. You know, God's kingdom is a kingdom, is a big kingdom and a powerful kingdom. The kingdom of God is not a joke. When God releases a servant, there is always a budget allocated to the servant. A servant does not need the money of its people, because heaven has already given a budget to the servant. I know many people will refer back and say Abraham tithe and but Abraham was released on a promise of the nations, that which God honored to Abraham. To date, the nations are an offspring of Abraham, that which God promised Abraham. God did not promise Abraham offerings and tithe. God promised Abraham nations, and God gave Abraham nations. Now, there are a big difference between the culture of the kingdom, the principles of the kingdom, and the will of God's kingdom. What is God's will for his people? Is God's will for his people that people may be oppressed, may be taken advantage of? No, that is not God's will. God's will is to liberate people. How do we see this? We would know that when God begins to move with Moses, the one thing that God emphasized with Moses, it was that Moses go liberate the children of Israel from Egypt in captivity, where they were imprisoned. God sends Moses to set his sons and daughters free from the hand of the devil, from the hand of Pharaoh. Now we've seen this generation and generation that your Joshua, your Gideon, they followed in the quest to release the people of God from slavery. Now anything that takes people back to slavery, that is no longer God's will. That is no longer God's plan. That is no longer God's purpose. Now therefore, in all that which we desire and that which will manifest itself is the will of God. Now we need to look at the Bible knowing that we have the Old Testament and the New Testament. Now, the Testament is the will of God. What does the will of God say about all these things that has now made people begin to worship material things over God? Now, with this culture of tithes and offering, people has given their worship to the glory of material. Let me take you back. The word says the angel bows worshiping the glory of God. Now, people are not bowing in worship to the glory of God. People are bowing in worship to the glory of money. I will repeat this. People